Imagine for just a moment that someone handed you a machine with an impossible assignment. It must work every second of every day. It cannot take a coffee break. It cannot sleep. It cannot stop for maintenance, not for a minute, not for a second. If it pauses even briefly, everything else depending on it begins to fail. Now imagine that this machine must continue performing this extraordinary task, not for 1 year, not for 10 years, but for 80 years or more. Most engineers would tell you such a machine cannot exist. Yet one does. It's beating inside your chest right now. Your heart. From before the day you were born until your final breath, your heart contracts and relaxes in a beautifully synchronized rhythm. On average, it beats around 100,000 times every single day. Over the course of a lifetime, that adds up to more than 2.5 billion heartbeats, all without conscious effort. Every heartbeat sends oxygen and nutrients to trillions of cells throughout your body. It supports your brain while you think, your lungs while you breathe, your muscles while you move, and every other organ that depends on a constant supply of blood. The remarkable thing is not simply that your heart keeps beating. It's how it finds the energy to do so. Hidden inside every heart cell are microscopic structures that few people ever think about, yet without them life would come to a standstill in seconds. These structures are called mitochondria. They are often described as the power plants of the cell. But that simple phrase barely captures what they truly do. Mitochondria are incredibly sophisticated biological engines. They transform the food you eat and the oxygen you breathe into a molecule known as ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the primary energy currency used by almost every cell in your body. Without ATP, muscles cannot contract, nerves cannot transmit signals, cells cannot repair themselves. Even the process of thinking would become impossible. Among all the organs in your body, the heart has one of the greatest demands for ATP because it never stops working. Estimates suggest that the heart turns over several kilograms worth of ATP every day, constantly recycling this energy molecule to sustain its continuous contractions. Rather than storing large reserves of ATP, heart cells produce and use it almost immediately, making efficient mitochondrial function essential for every heartbeat. Scientists estimate that mitochondria occupy roughly 1/3 of the volume of a healthy heart muscle cell. This unusually high mitochondrial density reflects the heart's extraordinary energy needs. In other words, a significant portion of each cardiac cell is devoted to producing energy rather than performing any other task. For decades, researchers believed that aging alone explained why the heart gradually became weaker over time. Today, we know the story is far more complex. Modern research suggests that one of the central drivers of cardiovascular aging lies not only in the heart muscle itself, but within these tiny energy-producing organelles. When mitochondria begin to lose efficiency, the consequences extend far beyond feeling tired. The heart may struggle to generate enough energy to pump effectively. Inflammation can increase, oxidative stress may accumulate, cellular repair mechanisms can become less effective. Over time, these changes may contribute to conditions such as heart failure, irregular heart rhythms, and reduced physical capacity. They also intersect with broader processes involved in healthy aging. The encouraging news is that mitochondria are not static. Unlike many machines, they are dynamic. They constantly adapt, communicate, divide, fuse, remove damaged components, and generate new mitochondria in response to the demands placed upon them. In other words, your daily choices influence the health of these microscopic power plants. The food you eat, the quality of your sleep, how often you move your body, how you manage stress, even the timing of your meals. Each of these habits sends signals that can either support or challenge mitochondrial health. Throughout this documentary, we'll explore what modern science has uncovered about these remarkable organelles. We'll examine why heart mitochondria become less efficient, what that means for cardiovascular health, and which lifestyle strategies have the strongest scientific support for helping maintain healthy cellular energy production. Importantly, we'll distinguish established evidence from promising but still emerging areas of research. Science is always evolving, and while many discoveries are exciting, not every experimental finding has yet translated into proven therapies for people. Our goal is understanding, not hype. Because when you understand how your heart creates energy, you begin to appreciate why small daily habits can have profound long-term effects. So let's begin at the very foundation. What exactly makes the heart such an extraordinary energy consumer? Chapter 1. The most demanding muscle in your body. Most of us rarely notice our heartbeat unless something feels unusual. Yet every moment of every day, your heart performs one of the most demanding jobs in biology. At rest, it pumps roughly 5 liters of blood every minute. During vigorous exercise, that amount can increase 4 or 5 times, depending on age, fitness, and health status. Imagine carrying several buckets of water every minute for decades without stopping. No human athlete could accomplish such a feat, yet your heart does. This incredible endurance depends on an uninterrupted supply of energy. Unlike many other tissues, the heart has almost no tolerance for energy shortages. If blood flow to part of the heart is interrupted even briefly, the oxygen supply falls, ATP production drops rapidly, and heart muscle cells begin to suffer. This is one reason why restoring blood flow quickly during a heart attack is so critical. The longer cardiac cells are deprived of oxygen, the greater the risk of irreversible injury. To understand why, we need to explore the heart's preferred fuel sources. Many people assume sugar is the body's primary fuel. The reality is more nuanced. A healthy adult heart is metabolically flexible. Under normal resting conditions, much of its energy comes from fatty acids. Depending on nutritional state and activity, fatty acid oxidation may provide the majority of the heart's ATP. Glucose, lactate, ketone bodies, and certain amino acids can also contribute, allowing the heart to switch fuels as conditions change. This flexibility is one of the heart's greatest strengths. During exercise, fasting, or illness, the heart adjusts its metabolism to maintain energy production. Researchers call this metabolic flexibility, and it is increasingly recognized as an important feature of cardiovascular health. However, in some chronic diseases, including diabetes, obesity, and heart failure, this flexibility can become impaired. The heart may rely too heavily on one fuel source or become less efficient at producing ATP overall. Think of it like a hybrid car designed to switch seamlessly between different energy sources. If one of its systems stops working, the engine may still run, but less efficiently, consuming more fuel for the same performance. Your heart faces a similar challenge when mitochondrial function declines. Producing ATP is not a simple matter of burning calories. It requires an intricate sequence of biochemical reactions carried out inside mitochondria. Every nutrient you eat, whether it begins as whole grains, vegetables, nuts, fruits, legumes, fish, or healthy fats, must eventually be broken down into smaller molecules. These molecules enter specialized pathways inside mitochondria, where oxygen helps extract their stored energy. The end result is ATP. Without oxygen, this highly efficient process cannot continue. This explains why oxygen is so much more than simply something we breathe. It is an essential partner in cellular energy production. The lungs bring oxygen into the bloodstream. The blood carries oxygen to the heart. The heart pumps that oxygen back to the rest of the body. And inside every heart cell, mitochondria use oxygen to unlock energy from nutrients. It is an elegant cycle that has evolved over hundreds of millions of years. But it is also remarkably delicate. Tiny disruptions within mitochondria can gradually reduce energy production long before symptoms become obvious. Researchers now believe that these subtle changes may begin years before many cardiovascular diseases become clinically apparent. This makes mitochondrial health not merely a consequence of heart disease, but potentially one of its earliest contributors. So how do mitochondria perform this extraordinary task? How can structures far too small to see with the naked eye power one of the strongest muscles in the human body? To answer that question, we need to journey inside the cell itself, into a microscopic world where every heartbeat truly begins. Chapter 2. Meet your cellular power plants. If you could shrink to the size of a molecule and step inside one of your heart cells, the landscape would look astonishing. You would not find empty space. Instead, you would see an incredibly organized city bustling with activity. Proteins carrying cargo, membranes directing traffic, molecular machines assembling new components. And scattered throughout this microscopic city would be thousands of bean-shaped structures, constantly humming with activity. These are the mitochondria. Far from being simple batteries, mitochondria are living, dynamic organelles with their own DNA, intricate internal architecture, and the remarkable ability to communicate with one another. Inside each mitochondrion, highly folded inner membranes create vast surface areas where the cell's energy-producing machinery is located. These folds allow many copies of the protein complexes responsible for ATP production to operate efficiently within a very small space. The process begins when nutrients from your food are broken down into smaller molecules. Through interconnected metabolic pathways, these nutrients generate energy-rich carriers that deliver high-energy electrons into the mitochondrial electron transport chain. Think of this chain as a carefully designed series of relay stations. Electrons pass from one protein complex to the next in a controlled sequence. As they move, the energy they release is used to pump hydrogen ions across the inner mitochondrial membrane, creating a powerful electrochemical gradient, much like water building up behind a dam. When those hydrogen ions flow back through an extraordinary molecular machine called ATP synthase, the stored energy is converted into ATP. This elegant process is known as oxidative phosphorylation, and it is one of the most efficient energy conversion systems found in nature. The oxygen you breathe plays a vital role at the end of this chain, accepting electrons so the process can continue smoothly. Without adequate oxygen, the entire system slows and ATP production falls. This microscopic choreography is repeated countless times every second inside every healthy heart cell. Yet despite its remarkable efficiency, it is not indestructible. Over time, normal metabolism produces reactive oxygen species, often called ROS. In moderate amounts, these molecules serve useful signaling functions, but when produced in excess or when antioxidant defenses are overwhelmed, they can contribute to oxidative stress, affecting proteins, lipids, and even mitochondrial DNA. How this delicate balance shifts with age, and why modern lifestyles can accelerate that shift, is the subject of the next chapter. Chapter 3. Why Heart Mitochondria Burnout. Every second of your life, your heart's mitochondria are engaged in an extraordinary balancing act. On one hand, they must produce enormous amounts of energy with incredible efficiency. On the other, they must protect themselves from the very process that creates that energy. It is a little like a power station generating electricity. The station provides immense value, but in the process it also produces heat, wear, and byproducts that require careful management. If maintenance stops, damage gradually accumulates. The same principle applies inside your cells. As mitochondria generate ATP, a very small percentage of electrons naturally escape from the electron transport chain before completing their journey. These escaped electrons can react with oxygen to form molecules known as reactive oxygen species, or RS. You may have heard ROS referred to as free radicals. For many years, they were portrayed as the villains of aging. The reality, however, is far more fascinating. Modern biology has revealed that ROS are not inherently harmful. In healthy amounts, they act as important signaling molecules, helping cells communicate, adapt to exercise, regulate immunity, and even trigger beneficial repair mechanisms. In other words, your body actually needs them. Problems begin only when their production exceeds the cell's ability to keep them under control. Imagine lighting a fireplace on a cold evening. A controlled fire warms the entire house. An uncontrolled fire burns the house down. Reactive oxygen species behave in much the same way. To keep them in balance, cells rely on sophisticated antioxidant systems. Enzymes such as superoxide dismutase, catalase, and glutathione peroxidase work continuously to neutralize excess RS before they can damage important cellular structures. These enzymes are supported by nutrients obtained through a balanced diet, including selenium, zinc, copper, and other compounds that help maintain normal antioxidant defenses. When this balance is maintained, mitochondria remain remarkably resilient, but as the years pass, or when the body is exposed to chronic metabolic stress, this equilibrium can begin to shift. More ROS are produced, protective systems become less efficient, tiny injuries begin to accumulate. None of these changes happen overnight. They develop slowly, often over decades. That is one reason why many cardiovascular diseases appear later in life. Long before symptoms arise, microscopic changes may already be taking place inside individual heart cells. The vulnerability of mitochondrial DNA. One reason mitochondria are especially susceptible to damage is that they possess their own genetic material. Unlike the DNA safely protected inside the nucleus of the cell, mitochondrial DNA sits much closer to the machinery responsible for energy production. That proximity allows mitochondria to respond rapidly to changing energy demands. But it also exposes their DNA to greater levels of oxidative stress. Researchers have found that mitochondrial DNA accumulates mutations over time. Most of these mutations are harmless. Cells have impressive quality control systems that repair damage or remove severely impaired mitochondria. However, if damage accumulates faster than repair can occur, the efficiency of energy production may gradually decline. Think of a factory whose instruction manuals slowly become smudged and torn. Workers can still perform their jobs. Machines still operate, but small errors become more common. Output slowly declines. This is similar to what may happen inside aging mitochondria. Scientists continue to investigate exactly how much mitochondrial DNA mutations contribute to cardiovascular aging. While many studies support an important role, aging itself is a complex process influenced by numerous interconnected factors. Rather than searching for a single cause, modern research increasingly points toward a network of interacting biological changes. Cardiolipin, the hidden guardian of energy. Another remarkable component of mitochondria receives far less public attention than it deserves. It is a unique phospholipid called cardiolipin. Unlike most fats found elsewhere in the body, cardiolipin is found primarily within the inner mitochondrial membrane. Its job's extraordinary. It helps us stabilize the protein complexes that make ATP production possible. Without healthy cardiolipin, the carefully organized architecture of the electron transport chain begins to lose efficiency. Researchers often compare it to the mortar holding bricks together in a wall. The bricks themselves may still exist, but without strong mortar, the wall becomes unstable. Oxidative stress can alter cardiolipin over time. When this occurs, mitochondria become less efficient at producing ATP and more likely to release signals that trigger inflammation or programmed cell death in severely damaged cells. For this reason, cardiolipin has become an important focus of modern cardiovascular research. Several experimental therapies aim to protect or restore its function, though most remain under investigation and are not yet part of routine clinical practice. When the cellular battery loses its charge, another essential feature of healthy mitochondria is something known as the mitochondrial membrane potential. Although the name sounds technical, the idea is surprisingly simple. Earlier, we compared mitochondria to a hydroelectric dam. Remember the hydrogen ions building up behind the dam? That stored difference in electrical charge is the membrane potential. It represents potential energy waiting to be converted into ATP. If the membrane potential weakens, ATP production also falls. It is similar to lowering the water level behind a dam. The turbines still turn, but far less electricity is produced. Maintaining this membrane potential is essential for heart function. Because the heart requires continuous ATP production, even modest reductions in mitochondrial efficiency can have cumulative consequences over many years. Fortunately, healthy mitochondria possess numerous repair mechanisms designed to preserve this electrical gradient. The challenge arises when ongoing stress repeatedly overwhelms these protective systems. Mitochondria are living networks for decades. Biology textbooks portrayed mitochondria as isolated bean-shaped structures floating independently inside cells. Today's imaging technologies tell a completely different story. In reality, mitochondria behave more like an interconnected network. They constantly join together, separate, exchange contents, repair one another. Scientists call these processes fusion and fission. Fusion allows healthier mitochondria to share proteins, enzymes, and genetic material with mitochondria that may have suffered minor damage. It is similar to several teams pooling their resources after a difficult project. Everyone becomes stronger together. Fission serves a different purpose. It separates damaged portions from healthy ones. This allows the cell to identify mitochondria that can still be repaired and those that should be removed. Without these two processes working together, damaged mitochondria would gradually accumulate inside cells. Current research suggests that disturbances in mitochondrial fusion and fission are associated with numerous cardiovascular conditions, although scientists are still determining exactly how these changes interact with aging and disease progression. Cleaning house. The importance of mitophagy. One of the most elegant quality control systems in biology is called mitophagy. The name simply means the selective removal of worn-out mitochondria. Imagine a city that never collects broken vehicles. Eventually, abandoned cars would fill every street. Traffic would slow, resources would be wasted, productivity would decline. Cells face a similar challenge. Old mitochondria cannot simply remain inside heart cells forever. They must be identified, dismantled, and recycled. Mitophagy performs this essential housekeeping function. Healthy mitochondria continue producing energy. Damaged mitochondria are broken down into reusable building blocks. New mitochondria are then created to replace them. In youth, this recycling system generally functions efficiently. With aging and under certain disease conditions, it may become less effective. Researchers believe that impaired mitophagy could contribute to the accumulation of dysfunctional mitochondria observed in aging hearts. However, one of the most encouraging discoveries in modern longevity science is that several healthy lifestyle behaviors appear to influence the biological pathways involved in mitochondrial renewal. We'll explore these fascinating findings later in this documentary. For now, it is enough to recognize one profound idea. Your mitochondria are not fixed. They are continuously being repaired, recycled, and renewed. The question is whether the rate of renewal can keep pace with the rate of damage. When it cannot, a destructive cycle begins, and that brings us to one of the most important concepts in cardiovascular aging. Chapter 4, the mitochondrial burnout cycle. Imagine owning a business that depends entirely on electricity. One day, your generators begin producing just 5% less power. At first, the difference seems insignificant. The lights still work. The computers still turn on. Business continues, but because less electricity is available, maintenance crews have less power to repair aging equipment. Machines become slightly less efficient. They consume more electricity to perform the same work. That leaves even less energy available for maintenance. Over time, the cycle feeds itself. A small deficit becomes a major crisis. Researchers believe something remarkably similar can occur inside heart cells. A modest decline in ATP production may reduce the cell's ability to repair proteins, recycle damaged mitochondria, maintain healthy calcium balance, and preserve normal cellular function. As repair falls behind, mitochondrial efficiency declines further. Oxidative stress increases. Inflammatory signaling may become more active. Energy production drops again. This creates what many scientists describe as a vicious cycle, a self-reinforcing loop in which reduced energy contributes to additional mitochondrial dysfunction, which in turn further reduces energy availability. In healthy aging, these changes often occur gradually and may be partially offset by the body's remarkable adaptive mechanisms. But when combined with chronic diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity, or coronary artery disease, the cycle can accelerate. Breaking this cycle is one of the central goals of modern cardiovascular research. And, as you'll soon discover, some of the most powerful tools for supporting mitochondrial health are not found in a laboratory. They begin with everyday lifestyle choices. Chapter 5, Modern Life and the Cellular Energy Crisis. If damaged mitochondria were simply an unavoidable consequence of growing older, there would be very little we could do about them. Fortunately, that is not what modern science suggests. Age certainly influences mitochondrial function, but researchers now recognize that how we live also plays an important role in determining how efficiently these cellular power plants perform throughout our lives. Think back to the remarkable design of the human body. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors lived in environments where movement was unavoidable. Food quality varied with the seasons. Nights were naturally dark, and daily life followed the rhythm of sunrise and sunset. Their mitochondria evolved under those conditions. Fast forward to today. Many of us spend most of the day sitting. Artificial light extends our evenings long after sunset. Highly processed foods are available around the clock. Psychological stress often persists for weeks or months instead of resolving after an immediate physical threat. These rapid lifestyle changes have occurred far more quickly than human biology has had time to adapt. While modern conveniences have dramatically improved many aspects of life, They have also introduced new metabolic challenges that can influence mitochondrial health. The cost of physical inactivity. One of the most powerful signals for healthy mitochondria is movement. Every time your muscles contract during a brisk walk, a bike ride, or a session of resistance training, they send biochemical messages that tell the body more energy will soon be needed. In response, cells activate pathways involved in maintaining and producing healthy mitochondria. When movement becomes rare, the opposite message is received. Energy demand falls. The stimulus to maintain a robust mitochondrial network also decreases. Over months and years, this may contribute to reduced aerobic fitness and diminished metabolic flexibility. This does not mean that every inactive person will develop heart disease. Many factors, including genetics, age, sleep, nutrition, medications, and existing health conditions, also influence cardiovascular risk. However, decades of research consistently show that regular physical activity is associated with better cardiovascular health and healthier aging. Interestingly, the goal is not to exercise continuously. Even short bouts of regular movement accumulated throughout the week can provide meaningful benefits. The heart does not require perfection. It responds remarkably well to consistency. When blood sugar stays elevated, another important challenge for mitochondria is chronic exposure to elevated blood glucose. After eating, blood sugar naturally rises. Healthy insulin signaling allows glucose to enter cells where it can be used for energy or stored for later use. Problems arise when blood sugar remains elevated for prolonged periods, as may occur in insulin resistance or diabetes. Persistently high glucose levels can increase oxidative stress and promote the formation of molecules known as advanced glycation end products, or AGGs. These compounds can alter proteins and tissues throughout the body, including blood vessels and the heart. Over time, such changes may impair normal cellular function and contribute to chronic inflammation. Researchers continue to investigate how glucose regulation influences mitochondrial biology, but maintaining healthy blood sugar levels is already well recognized as an important component of cardiovascular health. This is one reason why dietary patterns emphasizing whole foods, fiber-rich vegetables, legumes, whole grains, and minimally processed ingredients are consistently associated with healthier aging in large population studies. It is not because any single food magically boosts mitochondria. Rather, overall dietary patterns help create an internal environment in which healthy cellular processes are more likely to flourish. The hidden effects of poor sleep. Imagine asking a maintenance crew to repair an entire city while traffic continues at full speed. Roads remain crowded. Machines never stop. New problems keep appearing faster than old ones can be fixed. That is similar to what chronic sleep deprivation asks of the human body. During healthy sleep, particularly deep sleep, numerous restorative processes become more active. Hormones involved in tissue maintenance are released. Immune activity is carefully regulated. Waste products are cleared more efficiently from certain tissues. Although mitochondria continue working around the clock, sleep provides conditions that support overall cellular repair and recovery. Modern sleep research has linked inadequate or consistently disrupted sleep with increased inflammation, poorer glucose regulation, elevated cardiovascular risk, and reduced daytime energy. While sleep alone cannot prevent disease, it is increasingly viewed as one of the pillars of long-term metabolic health. Stress, helpful in small doses, harmful when constant stress itself is not the enemy. In fact, without stress, humans would never adapt. Exercise is a form of stress. Learning new skills is a form of stress. Recovering from illness is a form of stress. These short-term challenges often strengthen the body. Scientists sometimes refer to this beneficial adaptation as hormesis. The difficulty arises when stress becomes chronic. Imagine keeping your car's engine revving at maximum speed every hour of every day. Eventually, even a perfectly engineered engine begins to wear more quickly. Similarly, chronic activation of the body's stress response can influence sleep quality, blood pressure, blood sugar regulation, immune function, and inflammation. All of these factors interact with mitochondrial health. This does not mean occasional periods of stress permanently damage mitochondria. The human body is remarkably resilient. Rather, the concern is long-term, unresolved stress combined with inadequate recovery. One reason practices such as meditation, mindfulness, slow breathing, spending time in nature, and maintaining strong social relationships continue attracting scientific interest is that they may help support healthier regulation of the body's stress response systems. Researchers are still exploring exactly how these practices influence mitochondrial biology, but their benefits for psychological well-being and cardiovascular health are increasingly supported by evidence. Nutrition, feeding more than hunger. Every meal provides more than calories. It provides information. Food contains amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, fiber, and thousands of naturally occurring plant compounds that interact with human biology in remarkably complex ways. Instead of asking which single superfood improves mitochondria, modern nutrition science increasingly asks a different question. What dietary patterns consistently support long-term health? Again and again, similar answers emerge. Dietary patterns rich in vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, seeds, whole grains, healthy fats such as olive oil, and appropriate sources of lean protein are associated with lower rates of cardiovascular disease in many populations. These foods provide nutrients involved in antioxidant defenses, mitochondrial enzymes, vascular function, and normal cellular metabolism. Conversely, diets dominated by highly processed foods, excessive added sugars, and frequent overconsumption of calories may place greater metabolic demands on the body's regulatory systems. No single meal determines your future. It is the pattern repeated over years that matters most. The invisible burden of chronic inflammation. Inflammation is often misunderstood. Like reactive oxygen species, inflammation is not inherently harmful. It is an essential part of healing. Without inflammation, wounds would not repair. Infections could not be controlled. The problem is not inflammation itself. It is inflammation that refuses to switch off. Scientists sometimes refer to this persistent, low-grade activation as chronic systemic inflammation. Unlike the dramatic swelling that follows an injury, chronic inflammation can remain largely invisible. Over time, it may influence blood vessels, metabolism, immune signaling, and mitochondrial function. Current research suggests that oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, and chronic inflammation often reinforce one another. Each process can amplify the others, creating a network of interactions rather than a single cause and effect pathway. Understanding this interconnectedness is one of the biggest shifts in modern medicine. Instead of searching for one molecule to blame, researchers increasingly view cardiovascular aging as the result of many biological systems gradually influencing one another over decades. Chapter 6. When the heart begins running low on energy. One of the challenges with mitochondrial dysfunction is that it rarely announces itself dramatically in its early stages. There is no alarm bell, no flashing warning light. Instead, the first signs are often subtle. You may notice that climbing stairs feels slightly harder than it used to. Your recovery after physical activity may take longer. You might become tired earlier in the day than expected. These experiences are common and can have many different causes, including anemia, thyroid disorders, lung disease, medication effects, poor sleep, depression, nutritional deficiencies, or simply becoming less physically active. For that reason, they should never be viewed as proof of mitochondrial dysfunction. However, they do remind us of an important principle. When the body's ability to produce energy no longer matches its demands, many organ systems can be affected. The heart, because of its enormous energy requirements, is particularly sensitive to changes in ATP availability. As we'll discover in the next chapter, scientists have also learned something deeply encouraging. Your mitochondria are not fixed for life. They are capable of renewal, adaptation, and remarkable resilience. The question is, how can we help them do it? Chapter 7. Can your heart's mitochondria recover? After everything we've explored so far, you might be wondering whether this story has a hopeful ending. If mitochondria gradually accumulate damage throughout life, if oxidative stress increases, if ATP production slowly declines, is the process inevitable, or can anything actually be done? Perhaps one of the most encouraging discoveries in modern biology is that mitochondria are not static structures. Unlike many parts of a machine that simply wear out with age, mitochondria are living organelles that are constantly adapting to the needs of the cell. Even while you are listening to this documentary, countless mitochondria throughout your body are changing. Some are producing energy, some are dividing, some are joining together. Some are repairing minor damage, others have reached the end of their useful lives and are being dismantled so their components can be recycled. This constant renewal is one of the reasons the human body remains remarkably resilient. Every day your cells are making thousands of microscopic decisions that help maintain balance. Scientists call this dynamic equilibrium cellular homeostasis, and mitochondria sit at the very center of it. The cell's recycling program. Imagine a city that never demolished unsafe buildings. Eventually, abandoned structures would become unstable. Roads would be blocked. Resources would be wasted. Growth would slow. Instead, healthy cities remove buildings that can no longer be repaired and replace them with stronger, safer structures. Your cells operate in much the same way. Earlier, we introduced a process called mitophagy, the selective removal of damaged mitochondria. Mitophagy is part of a broader recycling system known as autophagy, a term that literally means self-eating. Despite the unusual name, autophagy is not destructive. It is one of the body's most sophisticated maintenance programs. Damaged proteins are broken down. Worn-out cellular components are recycled. Building blocks are reused to create healthier structures. This remarkable housekeeping system has become one of the most exciting areas of longevity research. Scientists have discovered that efficient cellular recycling appears to be associated with healthier aging across many tissues, including the heart, brain, liver, and skeletal muscles. It does not make people immortal, nor does it stop aging altogether. But it helps explain why healthy tissues can continue functioning for decades despite constant wear and tear. Building new power plants removing damaged mitochondria is only half the story. The body must also replace them. This process is known as mitochondrial biogenesis. The word simply means the creation of new mitochondria. Think of it like renovating a city's power grid. Old power stations are retired. Modern, more efficient facilities are built in their place. Within our cells, this process is coordinated by an extraordinary network of molecular signaling pathways. One of the most important regulators is a protein known as PGC1-alpha, often described as a master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. When activated, PGC1-alpha helps coordinate the production of proteins needed to build healthy mitochondria. It also communicates with other molecules, including NRF1, NRF2, and TFAM, which help ensure that new mitochondria receive the components they need to function properly. You don't need to memorize these names. What matters is the principle. Your cells possess an internal program capable of producing new mitochondrial networks throughout life. That is a remarkable discovery because it means the number and quality of mitochondria are influenced not only by age, but also by the signals your body receives from its environment. AMPK. Your cellular fuel gauge, one of those signals, comes from a fascinating molecule called AMP-activated protein kinase, or AMPK. Scientists often describe AMPK as the body's fuel gauge. When cellular energy begins to fall, AMPK senses the change. In response, it encourages cells to conserve energy, improve efficiency, and stimulate pathways involved in producing healthier mitochondria. Imagine the fuel warning light appearing on your car's dashboard. Instead of panicking, the vehicle automatically adjusts its performance, reduces unnecessary energy use, and directs you toward the nearest fuel station. AMPK performs a somewhat similar role inside your cells. Interestingly, one of the strongest natural activators of AMPK is physical activity. Every time you challenge your muscles through movement, your cells receive information that more efficient energy production will soon be needed. Over time, this contributes to many of the beneficial adaptations associated with regular exercise. SIRT1. Listening to the cell's environment, another important molecule is SIRT1, a member of the sirtuin family of proteins. Sirtuins have attracted considerable attention in aging research because they help cells respond to changes in nutrient availability and metabolic stress. SIRT1 interacts closely with PGC1-alpha, helping regulate mitochondrial function, cellular repair, and metabolic adaptation. Researchers continue investigating exactly how these pathways influence healthy aging. Much remains to be learned, but together AMPK, SIRT1, and PGC1-alpha illustrate an important concept. Your mitochondria are constantly listening. They respond to movement, to nutrition, to sleep, to stress, to illness, to recovery. Your daily habits become biological messages. And over time, those messages help shape the health of your cellular energy systems. Exercise, the most powerful mitochondrial signal. If scientists had to choose one lifestyle factor with the strongest evidence for supporting mitochondrial health, regular physical activity would likely be near the top of the list. Exercise is unique because it temporarily increases energy demand. During activity, ATP is consumed more rapidly. The body interprets this as a signal. It responds by improving its capacity to produce energy more efficiently in the future. This adaptation helps explain why physically active individuals often develop greater endurance over time. Their muscles, and to an important extent their cardiovascular system, become better equipped to generate ATP. One particularly well-studied form of exercise is Zone 2 aerobic training. Zone 2 refers to moderate intensity activity, where conversation is still possible, but breathing becomes noticeably deeper. For many people, this includes brisk walking, comfortable cycling, swimming, or light jogging, depending on their fitness level. Researchers have found that this type of sustained aerobic activity is especially effective at improving the body's ability to use oxygen efficiently. Because mitochondria depend on oxygen to produce ATP, these adaptations are closely linked to healthier aerobic metabolism. Resistance training also plays an important role. While often associated with stronger muscles, resistance exercise also improves insulin sensitivity, metabolic health, and overall physical function. For older adults, maintaining muscle mass is increasingly recognized as an important contributor to healthy aging and cardiovascular resilience. The key message is not that everyone must become an athlete. Far from it. The greatest health improvements often occur when people move from being largely inactive to engaging in regular, sustainable physical activity. Consistency matters far more than perfection. Chapter 8. Refueling your heart. Naturally, although exercise is powerful, mitochondria rely on much more than movement alone. They depend on an entire lifestyle ecosystem. Imagine trying to grow a healthy forest. Water alone isn't enough, neither is sunlight nor fertile soil. Healthy growth depends on many factors working together. Your mitochondria function in much the same way. No single food, no single supplement, no single workout can compensate for every other unhealthy habit. Instead, the body responds to patterns repeated over months and years. Let's begin with one of the most fundamental: sleep. Your nightly maintenance window. While you sleep, your heart does not stop working. Neither do your mitochondria, but the body shifts into a different physiological state. Heart rate generally slows, blood pressure often falls, hormonal patterns change. Rare processes become more active. Scientists continue exploring exactly how sleep influences mitochondrial biology, but there is little doubt that consistently insufficient sleep is associated with poorer metabolic health, impaired glucose regulation, increased inflammation, and higher cardiovascular risk. Healthy sleep is not passive. It is active restoration. For many adults, maintaining a regular sleep schedule, limiting bright light late in the evening, creating a cool and quiet sleeping environment, and allowing sufficient time for sleep are among the simplest evidence-based habits that support long-term health. Nutrition. Feeding your cellular engines. Just as a high-performance engine depends on quality fuel, your mitochondria depend on a steady supply of nutrients to perform their countless tasks. But unlike a machine that runs on a single type of fuel, your cells thrive on diversity. A diet centered on vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts, seeds, healthy fats, and appropriate sources of protein provides vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, amino acids, and naturally occurring plant compounds that support normal cellular function. Rather than searching for a single mitochondria-boosting food, think about building meals that are colorful, minimally processed, and varied. Over time, these dietary patterns are consistently associated with better cardiovascular and metabolic health. Some plant foods, such as berries, leafy greens, cocoa, green tea, and pomegranates, contain polyphenols, natural compounds that researchers are studying for their potential roles in cellular signaling and antioxidant defenses. While laboratory findings are promising, these foods are best viewed as part of an overall healthy eating pattern rather than standalone therapies. Similarly, healthy fats from sources such as olive oil, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish contribute nutrients important for cardiovascular health. The strongest evidence supports dietary patterns that incorporate these foods regularly rather than relying on isolated supplements alone. By now, one message has become increasingly clear. There is no single switch that suddenly transforms unhealthy mitochondria into healthy ones. The human body doesn't work that way. Instead, your cells are constantly collecting information from every choice you make. Every meal, every walk, every good night's sleep, every stressful day, and every moment of recovery becomes part of a much larger biological conversation. The encouraging news is that your body is remarkably adaptable. When healthy signals are repeated consistently, your cells begin adapting to those signals. Keeping blood sugar stable, one of the most important signals your mitochondria receive each day, comes from your blood sugar. Your body is designed to handle temporary rises in glucose after eating. Problems arise when blood sugar remains elevated for prolonged periods, often due to insulin resistance, excess body fat around the abdomen, physical inactivity, or diets consistently high in refined carbohydrates and excess calories. When this happens, mitochondria are asked to process more fuel than they can efficiently manage. Over time, this may contribute to increased oxidative stress and metabolic dysfunction. Fortunately, many everyday habits support healthier glucose regulation. Choosing meals rich in vegetables, legumes, whole grains, healthy fats, and lean proteins can slow the absorption of glucose. Regular physical activity helps muscles use glucose more effectively. Maintaining a healthy body weight, where appropriate, also improves insulin sensitivity for many individuals. These changes are not about perfection. They're about creating a metabolic environment where mitochondria can perform their jobs efficiently without being overwhelmed. The importance of hydration and essential minerals water rarely receives the attention it deserves. Every biochemical reaction inside your body, including those involved in energy production, takes place in an aqueous environment. Even mild dehydration can influence exercise performance, circulation, and perceived fatigue. Equally important are essential minerals such as magnesium and potassium, which help support normal muscle and nerve function, including the electrical activity of the heart. Rather than focusing on electrolyte drinks marketed with bold claims, most healthy people can meet their needs through balanced nutrition and adequate hydration. Individuals with heart failure, kidney disease, or those taking diuretics should follow their healthcare professionals' advice regarding fluid and electrolyte intake, as their needs may differ. The power of recovery modern culture often celebrates constant productivity. Work harder, sleep less, push through fatigue, never slow down. But biology tells a different story. Growth happens during recovery. Muscles become stronger after exercise because they are given time to repair. Learning becomes permanent when the brain consolidates memories during rest. Likewise, your cardiovascular system benefits from alternating periods of challenge and recovery. Exercise stimulates adaptation. Recovery allows that adaptation to occur. Without recovery, stress accumulates. Without challenge, adaptation never begins. Health exists in the balance between the two. Chapter 9. What does science say about supplements? Whenever mitochondria are discussed online, supplements quickly enter the conversation. Advertisements often promise to supercharge your cellular energy or reverse aging with a single capsule. Science paints a far more balanced picture. Some supplements have encouraging evidence in specific situations. Others remain experimental, and none can replace the foundation of healthy lifestyle habits. Let's examine a few of the most studied compounds. Coenzyme Q10. Coenzyme Q10, often called CoQ10, is naturally present in mitochondria and plays a role in the electron transport chain where ATP is produced. Levels may decline with age, and certain medications, including statins, can lower circulating CoQ10 levels in some individuals. Clinical studies have investigated CoQ10 supplementation in heart failure and other cardiovascular conditions. Some research suggests potential improvements in symptoms or quality of life for selected patients, while other studies have shown more modest effects. Overall, CoQ10 is one of the better studied mitochondrial supplements, but it should be viewed as a potential adjunct to appropriate medical care rather than a replacement for prescribed treatment. Omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids from oily fish and certain plant sources have long been associated with cardiovascular health. They contribute to normal cell membrane function and may help support healthy triglyceride levels in some people. Eating fish as part of a balanced diet has consistently been linked with cardiovascular benefits. The role of omega-3 supplements depends on an individual's health status, diet, and medical advice. Magnesium participates in hundreds of enzymatic reactions throughout the body, including those involved in ATP metabolism. People with magnesium deficiency may experience fatigue, muscle cramps, or abnormal heart rhythms. However, more is not always better. Excessive supplementation can cause side effects and may not be appropriate for individuals with impaired kidney function. L-carnitine helps transport fatty acids into mitochondria, where they can be used for energy production. Researchers continue to study its role in cardiovascular disease, exercise performance, and certain inherited metabolic disorders. The evidence remains mixed, and routine supplementation is not universally recommended for healthy individuals. Taurine is an amino acid involved in several aspects of cardiovascular physiology, including calcium regulation and cellular function. Emerging research is exploring its role in healthy aging and metabolic health. While early findings are promising, larger human trials are still needed before firm conclusions can be drawn. Creatine. Most people associate creatine with athletes, yet creatine also serves as a rapid energy buffer inside many tissues, including the heart and brain. Research has clearly demonstrated benefits for muscle performance and strength training. Its role in supporting heart mitochondrial function remains an active area of investigation. NAD+ precursors compounds such as nicotinamide riboside, NR, and nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN, have attracted significant attention because they may influence cellular NAD+ levels, an important molecule involved in energy metabolism. Animal studies have produced exciting results. Human studies are ongoing. Although these compounds represent an intriguing area of longevity research, many questions regarding long-term clinical benefits remain unanswered. This illustrates an important principle. Scientific excitement is not the same as scientific proof. Chapter 10: The Future of Mitochondrial Medicine. Perhaps the most exciting aspect of mitochondrial research is that we are only beginning to understand these remarkable organelles. Scientists around the world are exploring therapies that were almost unimaginable just a generation ago. Researchers are studying drugs that stabilize mitochondrial membranes. Others are investigating ways to improve mitochondrial quality control. Experimental work is exploring mitochondrial transplantation, where healthy mitochondria may one day help support damaged tissues under carefully controlled clinical conditions. Gene editing technologies continue advancing. Artificial intelligence is helping scientists identify new therapeutic targets. Personalized medicine may eventually allow treatments to be tailored according to an individual's unique biology. Yet, despite these exciting possibilities, one truth remains unchanged. The most powerful interventions available today are often the simplest. Move regularly, sleep well, eat nourishing foods, avoid smoking, manage chronic stress. Maintain healthy blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol with appropriate medical guidance. These habits may not seem revolutionary, but collectively they create the biological environment in which healthy mitochondria can thrive. Conclusion: every heartbeat is a miracle of energy. As we reach the end of our journey, let's return to where we began. Right now, without asking for recognition, without demanding your attention, your heart continues its tireless work. Every beat is powered by microscopic organelles so small they cannot be seen with the naked eye. Yet together they sustain every thought, every breath, every step, and every moment of your life. Perhaps the greatest lesson modern science has taught us is that health is rarely determined by one dramatic decision. It is shaped by thousands of ordinary ones. The walk you choose instead of remaining seated. The meal you prepare instead of the easiest convenience, the extra hour of sleep. The moment you pause to breathe deeply, the decision to care for your body before illness demands it. These choices may seem insignificant today, but your mitochondria notice. Your heart notices, your future self notices. The remarkable thing about the human body is not that it avoids damage. It is that it is constantly working to repair, adapt, and renew itself. While no lifestyle can stop aging entirely, modern research offers a hopeful message. Many of the systems that support cellular energy remain responsive throughout life. By combining evidence-based medical care with healthy daily habits, we can help create the conditions in which our hearts and the tiny power plants within them continue to function as well as possible for years to come. Your heart has already given you billions of faithful beats. Perhaps the greatest gift you can offer in return is not perfection, but consistency. One healthy choice, repeated day after day, because extraordinary health is rarely built through extraordinary actions. It is built through ordinary actions, performed extraordinarily well. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the hidden world inside every heartbeat. If you found this documentary valuable, consider sharing it with someone who cares about their heart, their health, or their future. And if you'd like to continue exploring the science of longevity, cellular health, and healthy aging, we invite you to join us again. Until next time, take care of your heart, and your heart will spend every moment taking care of you.